What's up, everybody? In today's video, we've got a ton of news from the camera industry. We've got Canon lenses, one we're super excited about, one I'm a little confused by. We've got an interesting camera coming out of Fuji. We've also got a bunch of news from around the industry about pricing and availability and all that stuff as tariffs hit. And we've got some firmware updates to talk about from Canon and a potential down the road camera lens combo that we might be seeing from Canon as well that we will talk about. So it's a ton. Let's just jump right in. So first things first, let's get the dollars and cents out of the way. Canon released their Q1 2025 financials. There's a lot in there to talk about, especially if you are invested in the mirrorless market and especially if you're invested in Canon, but not just specifically for Canon. As the one of the largest, if not the largest, manufacturer and distributor of full frame, cinema, just all the cameras out there that we buy. When Canon says something in their investor relations meetings, we can kind of assume that those things are going to be very similar for the rest of the industry. Now, they indicated that the imaging segment was super strong. Sales jumped 20% year over year. Most of that momentum for Canon coming from the high end with the R5 Mark II, as well as sustained demand for some of their less expensive APS-C cameras like the R50, which makes perfect sense and why they've been pushing on the smaller, more compact, less expensive, budget-friendly hybrid camera systems for younger entry-level users. Canon is doubling down on hybrid creators. But all of this is going to come with significant challenges this year as tariffs in the US are going to cause things to be kind of complicated for pretty much every camera manufacturer. The 10% tariff overall is going to hit the sales demand side as it increases prices. And to mitigate some of this, Canon is actually restructuring some of their global production. Now, they're still expecting a 5.6% increase in overall camera sales revenue for 2025. But I think that we can assume that pretty much every part of the industry, Sony, Fuji, the lens manufacturers, Nikon, they're going to feel this impact, and this won't just be concentrated for Canon. But either way, Canon is continuing to march forward with their launches. The EOS R50 V is now officially in stock in the US and rolled out globally. This is their new mirrorless APS-C camera with a compact design, geared towards vloggers. Packs a 24.2 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It has the Digic X processor, and a ton of fun gadgets and gizmos to help hybrid creators. It can shoot 4K 60 with a crop. It is 6K oversampled in 4K 30, and it does come with Canon's dual pixel CMOS autofocus. We also get the fully articulating touchscreen, and an addition for this particular camera is their close-up demo mode so that you can put things just right in front of the camera. It has a skin smoothing feature, and one really cool thing, it has a vertical mount, so you can actually attach a tripod plate or any sort of 1/4 inch attachment on the side of it, not just on the bottom. It also has a front record button, built-in Canon Log 3, and it has live streaming modes for USB, HDMI, and is compatible with the Live Switcher app that Canon came out with a few months ago. And the new multifunction hot shoe supports 24-bit audio when it's paired with their external mic. Price-wise, without a lens, the body is coming in at $649 at US retailers. And if you get it bundled with the 14 to 30 millimeter f4 to f6.3, that is the image stabilized STM power zoom lens, it's going to be $200 more at $849. That's available at pretty much every online retailer. I've got links down below to a couple of them if you're interested. Those are affiliate links. They do help the channel. Now, if you are a photographer that shoots outside and you like using flash strobes, this is the Godox 8200 Pro 2. This is a 200 watt high-speed sync capable outdoor strobe with a battery, and it's got a bunch of cool stuff and modeling light and all that. This is what I traditionally shoot with if I'm wanting to do outdoor lighting. But Neweer actually has just dropped their Q6, which I did see at WPPI. At that time, they didn't have pricing or availability yet, and the Q5 was the top of the line. And what Neweer told me at WPPI was that the Q5, its number one issue was that the color on that strobe at full power was pretty inconsistent. The Q6, which is a 600 watt second studio flash, claims that it will get a consistent 5700 Kelvin color temperature, and at 600 watt seconds, if you're shooting at high speed sync, you will definitely be able to light up a group of people in close to full day sun. It also comes with a 30 watt LED modeling lamp, and the modeling lamp is adjustable from 2700 to 6500 Kelvin with a CRI of 95 and a TLCI of 98 for those looking to be perfectly color accurate. Recycle times as fast as 0.01 seconds and 0.9 seconds if you are doing full power flashes. I mentioned high-speed sync. It can do high-speed sync up to 1/8000th of a second. Wireless control is provided by the app as well as the remote trigger. They claim 400 full power flashes. It is compatible with a Bowens mount. You can also hook it up to DC power, and it has a silent fan to keep things cool when you're out in the field. Right now there is a 30% introductory discount, and it is only $499, and it's gonna start shipping on May 18th. If you are a photographer who does a lot of outdoor stuff and you've not been using flash in your photography, you're looking to add a flash to your kit, this is a phenomenal option at a great price for what is an extremely powerful flash. Next is a story about the Sony Imaging unit. And this isn't just about Sony cameras like your A7 III. Sony makes a lot of sensors for a lot of different products and companies. And there's word that Sony might be looking to spin off its Sony Semiconductor Solutions, or SSS business. And this business unit from Sony, they make not just the sensors for their cameras, but for smartphones, drones, security cameras, all sorts of stuff. Valuations are currently being placed at approximately $49 billion if it is to be listed. Sony would keep a minority stake, but they would pivot their focus into their gaming and music divisions. Now, Sony's semiconductor unit has been seeing profits drop over the last few quarters, with numbers hovering just above 10%, so maybe they're seeing some writing on the wall, but I can say that Sony's imaging unit has produced some of the best sensors, some of the most innovative imaging, and really kind of push things forward in a lot of different market categories. Another really interesting thing I want to talk about are Canon lens announcements. So we have one lens that's officially been announced and one lens that we're expecting to be announced very soon. The first is the Canon RF 75-300 f4 to f5.6. Now, if that focal range sounds familiar, that is a lens that has been around for a very long time, at least the design. And I think almost everyone that I've run into at some point who was looking for a telephoto lens and maybe they reached for a 70-200 ended up seeing this lens, especially if they were going to be doing a lot of like outdoor sports photography during the day. And they thought, well, this is awesome. 5.6 is still great. I'm going to be shooting at 300. That extra 100 millimeters of reach is going to be phenomenal. The problem is that lens was garbage. And what I mean by that is just the quality was bad. It was soft everywhere. The focus was slow. It just wasn't a very good lens. But I feel like everyone I know has at some point had that lens or thought about buying that lens. And everyone that I've talked to that has owned it has said, yeah, I moved on to a 70-200 or a 100 to 400, 100 to 300 as soon as I could because that lens really was bad. Right, but Canon's busy refreshing their entry-level RF mount offerings. They want to fill out the offer. But this lens is derived from the EF version that was released in 1999 for film cameras. Now, if you're shooting on APS-C, which again, pretty much everybody that I knew that had this lens was shooting on APS-C, this is a 120 to 480 millimeter equivalent. It's got 13 elements in 9 groups. It does have a super spectra coating to cut down on flare and increase contrast. Minimum focusing distance is 1.5 meters, and it has a 7 blade aperture. So your bokeh balls will not be round, and you'll have fewer of those star-shaped effects if you're shooting with this lens top down with a light point. Now, oddly or not oddly, this lens is not currently available in the US yet. I'm assuming it will be, but I'm not sure no one understands what the tariffs are doing for products, even products that are coming out of Japan. We also don't know 100% of where this lens is being manufactured, but I can tell you that overseas it's being priced at about 390 US dollars. But again, we can't really count on direct currency conversions either. But Canon is definitely targeting mass market shooters with this lens. But switching away from Canon, I want to talk for just a minute about the Fuji Half-Frame camera. We have a price leak on this camera. Now, we've known that this has been coming for about a month. Again, pitched at younger creative users, right? The hip kids who want something a little bit more capable than a smartphone. And before tariffs, this camera was priced at about $700. It uses a 1-inch sensor, which is actually turned vertical inside the camera. But as a result of tariffs, the pricing might go as high as $1,700. That's assuming that it's brought in from China, because again, these manufacturing locations and shipping and all of that, it's very fluid, it's very in the air. We don't know 100% of where everything's going to be coming from. But even in Japan, that could drive prices up 10 to 25%, which could cause it to not be as exciting in the largest market here in the US for its May 22nd launch. But that is kind of the story around the industry right now. Next up, I want to talk about a firmware update that might be affecting Canon's flagship users. So this is getting a lot of attention from working photographers who have recently updated their EOS R5 Mark IIs to firmware version 1.03. Photographers are reporting multiple significant issues with autofocus, where the camera will either hang and not focus, miss focus completely, lock on to random subjects. This is even with single point autofocus. The 1.03 release was actually aimed to improve autofocus in various zoom ranges. I mentioned this in a video a couple of weeks ago, but the real world experience from photographers is suggesting that this update may have actually created more problems than it was intended to solve. And the issue has been confirmed to be a part of the 1.03 update because when you restore back to 1.02, autofocus returns to its normal snappy performance. Canon reports that they are aware of the concerns and that a fix is in the works. No timeline on a patch. But if you are currently on 1.02 on the R5 Mark II, do not update. Wait for a 1.04 to roll this issue back and fix it. But I'm curious if you are an R5 Mark II customer, if you are shooting with this camera every day, did you update your firmware? Are you experiencing this problem? Next, let's jump into the other big lens announcement / news that we have this week, which is on a Canon ultra-wide prime. So I did a video last week talking about why I love shooting with primes. They are phenomenal. They are amazingly sharp. Now, I do a lot of portrait and family photography, so my lens of choice is an 85mm f1.4 prime. But I also love doing landscapes, and I really love doing astrophotography when I'm out on my adventures. And having a ultra-wide lens for situations like that, especially one that is fast and tack sharp, is huge. Previously, I shot with a Samyang 14mm f2.8. That was my astrophotography lens of choice, although to be quite honest, that lens was a little soft for me and it had a lot of chromatic aberration, and I ended up ditching it for the Canon 14 to 35. But I would love to have an even faster lens. So if you're an astrophotographer or you just love wide angle shots with lots of deep out of focus elements, Canon has the lens for you. We're hearing that we'll have our first RF full frame ultra wide prime with a 1.4 aperture targeted to specifically astrophotography shooters and nightscapes. Now, we don't know the exact focal length of this lens, but it will likely be somewhere between, I would say, 10 and 12. And one bit of news that we do have is that it will not be using Canon's latest VCM, but in fact their STM motor tech, which means it'll probably be a little bit more efficient, maybe even lower price, but it also might be just a little bit larger than some of the other primes. Canon's ultra-wide primes from the EF era were pretty well received, but we haven't had anything in this range released for RF since Canon switched primarily to making mirrorless cameras and lenses. In fact, up to this point, Canon shooters' only options were either third-party or older EF glass adapted. So if Canon can fill this gap, that'll be huge for astrophotographers, landscape photographers, and event photographers. Really, there's no end to the options that you have with creative photography when you have a super ultra wide lens. Okay, and last things last. I want to do a quick rundown on all the current rumors out there in Canon space, starting with the R6 Mark III, which has been reportedly pushed from a planned May release in 2025 to maybe even late next year. Upgrades were likely going to include an improved sensor, potentially with a resolution bump, but I don't think so. I think it's gonna stay at 24 megapixels. I think it's gonna inherit the sensor out of the R3, maybe even with a bit of a bump, make it super fast, as well as giving it an improved EVF, better thermal performance, and potentially an improvement to the articulating screen. The R6 Mark II, which I am shooting on right now, has been, I think, in the last year, one of, if not the most popular cameras for hybrid photographers and content creators looking to full frame and to go as pro as they can without spending every dollar that they can. So if you have an R6 Mark II, like I do, keep it in good shape, hold on to it tight, because we don't know when we're getting an update. Shifting to the APS-C front, the baby flagship camera, the R7 Mark II, has had a bit of an update when it comes to its rumors, including an improvement in the resolution up to 40 megapixels potentially, which would allow it to shoot 8K. It may also share some of the cooling technology out of the R5 Mark II. One rumor says that it may actually get a body size increase so that it can actually fit the cooling grip from the R5 Mark II, while also ditching the mechanical shutter altogether. If that's accurate, it would make it a direct competitor to Fuji's X-T5, at least on paper. We're also getting word that there might be an entry-level R10 Mark II with updates to its live stream features and the screen, but that camera also seems to be caught up in the delays related to tariffs and the potential impact to the global economy. On the lens side of things, for the RF mount, we are potentially expecting some ultra-fast primes in the 1.2 range, potentially an update to the 50mm, and a long-awaited 35mm on the RF mount. Also hearing the potential for a constant aperture f5.6 300 to 600, big white super telephoto zoom, designed to be an alternative on the weight and cost side to the RF 200 to 500 f4. Also expecting new lenses on the RFS side. These lenses were rumored to be announced with some of these updated bodies, but we really haven't seen any of that. So if you're a person that watches Canon, well, we'll just have to wait and see as production roadmaps remain in flux, but expect R5 Mark II and the existing RF glass to be the majority of sales going forward for Canon for folks who are on the upgrade cycle. I'll keep an eye on all of that and keep you posted as I see and learn new things. All right, lastly, for folks who have stayed to the end of the video, number one, I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you subscribing. If you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the like button. Those are the signals, along with watching to the end of the video, that tells YouTube and the YouTube algorithm that it should be showing my work to more people. Additionally, as a working photographer, I have tools and resources that I have generated for myself that I want to share with you. And while I don't necessarily intend on selling like a preset pack or LUTs or anything like that, I do want to give people the resources that I've developed and are continuously developing for myself and my work, both for this YouTube channel and for my photography business. And I plan to do that through YouTube memberships. So if you'd like to become a member of the channel, I've got a couple of different options. They're very inexpensive, and I'll be giving these resources away to folks who are members of the channel. I don't traditionally do sponsored segments on my channel because this channel is sponsored by me and by my photography business. So if you're interested in portrait or family photography, or really any kind of photography, and you are in Las Vegas or are coming to Las Vegas, or you're in Southern California, click on the link down below to my website and let's talk about booking a session. Last plug that I'll give you is for my Instagram account. Some of you may know I've got 2 little kids, and when my youngest was being born, when my wife and I were in the hospital while she was being born, my Facebook and Instagram accounts were hacked. My personal Facebook account that I'd had since Facebook became public. They hacked that account, and as a result, it was shut down. So my Facebook account, my Facebook page, and my Instagram accounts, both personal and professional, were all taken out. And I spent 2 or 3 months fighting with Facebook to get those back, and it never happened. So a year or so later, I have started a new Instagram and Facebook page for my photography business. And again, as a working photographer, having a well-followed Instagram account is important. And so I've been asking the folks who watch my videos to follow me on Instagram. That's it. I'm just asking you to follow me there. But I'm also sweetening the pot with an Instagram gear giveaway. As someone who does YouTube videos, I get lots of opportunities to review products and gear for companies. They send me their gear to review. I give you my honest opinion, I walk you through the specs and information, and I do my best to be as objective as possible. But in a lot of cases, I don't need the gear. Like, I'm not gonna keep it. And they don't really ask for it back. And in some cases, I'd just rather give it to you, the folks who follow me, the folks who subscribe, who like, the members of my channel, and specifically, the people who follow me on Instagram. I'll give you an example. This is an SSD Thunderbolt enclosure. I think this thing retails for $100, maybe even more now with tariffs. I have a number of these. Kind of looks like the thing from Terminator 2. It's worked great. It gets a little hot, but I like it quite a bit. I threw my own 4 terabyte SSD in here. NVMe SSD Thunderbolt, I get like 3,500 megabytes a second off of this when I'm connected to a Thunderbolt port. I've got a couple of those from a couple of different companies, as well as other stuff. I don't need it. But here's what I need you to do. Follow me on Instagram, put a comment on this video telling me that you did, and go watch this video for all the details and explanations. And then throw a comment on that one as well if you could. But you gotta follow me on Instagram, and while you're there, I'd appreciate it if you hit like on a bunch of those photos and maybe share some stuff out. When I hit 1,000 followers on Instagram, that's why I haven't done the giveaway yet. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers on Instagram, and I'm bad at Instagram, to be quite honest. I will start sifting through all the comments from all my videos since I've been doing this, and I'll start contacting folks and getting their information to send them the products that they would like. So again, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Again, subscribe and like and do all the things down below. Check out all my social media feeds. I've also got all of my gear lists down below that you can check out to see everything that I use here in the studio, as well as the things that I use when I'm out photographing families and individuals, the things that I use when I'm out on adventures, and my 2025 list of recommended gear to get started as a photographer. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.